Hare Krishna. Yesterday we were talking about this verse from Bhagavad Gita, which is from chapter 2, verse number 14. Anyone remembers what did we cover yesterday? So Anuttara Mataji, Bharadwaja Prabhu, what did we cover yesterday?
Yes, Prabhuji. So we covered the important point. This too shall pass.
This too shall pass. So everything in this material world, including happiness and distress, are temporary. And we saw this story from which we learned that whatever situation that we are in, that is going to pass. What else did we learn? Vichitra Prabhu?
Nothing is permanent.
Nothing is permanent. Okay.
Whether it's good phase or bad phase.
Yes. Whether it is good or bad, nothing is permanent. Very good. So these were the two main points that we focused on yesterday, that everything is temporary and this too shall pass. So from the same verse, there were some other important points that we wanted to cover. So we were talking about, yes, actually we should recite this verse as well again. Matra sparshastu kaunteya
Matra sparshastu kaunteya
Shitoshna sukha dukkhadaha
Shitoshna sukha dukkhadaha
Agamapayino nityas
Agamapayino nityas
Tam titikshasva bharata
Tamtikshasva bharata
Matra sparshastu kaunteya Shitoshna sukha dukkhadaha Agamapayino nityas Tam titikshasva bharata
Tamtikshasva bharata.
So can someone read the translation? Yes, Vinay Prabhu.
O son of Kunti, the non-permanent appearance of happiness and distress and their disappearance in due course are like the appearance and disappearance of winter and summer seasons. They arise from sense perception, ocean of Bharata, and one must learn to tolerate them without being disturbed.
Very good. Thank you. So yesterday we saw that this happiness and distress, they are like summer and winter season and they are temporary. Today we are going to talk about what is this Krishna talking about, that this appears, this happiness and distress appears from the sense perception. So it is very simple. So if something is hot or cold, you can only understand whether it is hot or cold by touching it. So when the senses touch or senses interact with the sense objects, only then we understand how they are. So from the sense of touch, when it is hot or cold, when you touch it, then you understand that it is hot or cold. But that doesn't mean that we are going to be happy or distressed just because we have touched it. It depends on something else as well. It depends, the happiness and distress depends on the state of the mind. Because mind is also considered as one of the senses. So if it is a winter season that is going on, and you touch something which is hot, then you are happy. If it is summer season that is going on and you touch something cold, then also you are happy. But the reverse is not true. So if the winter season is going on and you have to touch something cold, then you will be unhappy. And if it is summer and if you touch something very hot, then you are not happy. So it's quite interesting. The same activity that is happening, you are touching similar object, hot or cold, but depending on the other circumstances as well, you can feel happiness or distress. Now we can extend this example that, say, suppose a mother is cooking in a hot summer day, and she's cooking for her child. Then even though it is hot summer season, even though she has to be very close to the fire, and she's feeling very hot, but because she is lovingly cooking for the child, she is not unhappy. She is not distressed because of that. Because she has love for the child, and that is why she is able to tolerate it. So the situation is there, but she is able to tolerate it just because she has this love. And this is quite interesting point that we are going to a little bit more elaborate on. So this happiness or distress that is there, not only depends on the senses and the sense objects interaction, it also depends on the state of our mind. If the mind wants something, if mind wants to do something, and if he's allowed to do, or if you suppose mind wants to get something and he gets it, then we are happy. And if you don't get it, then you are unhappy. And if mind doesn't want to have something and it gets it, then it is unhappy. And you don't want to get it, and you don't get it, then you are happy. So it is depending on the state of the mind. So this is all arising from our sense perception. So this happiness and distress, as you can see from this example, is all arising from the sense perception. So we talked about one story yesterday. We'll take another story today. This is about a poor farmer. I may have mentioned this story to some of you in the past, but this is very appropriate. So I'm going to cover that and talk about that story again. So this old farmer was staying in a village, and he was poor. He did not have a tractor. He just had a horse. And using that horse, he would do his farming. So what was happening was, every day he will use the same horse for farming. He will use the same horse for going from one place to another. So he was very, very dependent on that horse for his earning as well as for his transportation. But one fine day, when this old man's old horse was working in the farm, and then he suddenly drops dead. Looking at that, everyone in the village, they felt that, oh, what a terrible thing has happened for this farmer. But the farmer was very calm and peaceful. He just smiled and he said, "We will see." Then, because he was so calm and so peaceful, and because everyone actually loved him in the village because of his attitude, they decided that, okay, let's collect some money and buy a new horse for this farmer. And that is what they do. They collect some money and buy a horse for this farmer. And then looking at this new horse that this farmer has, now everyone is thinking, wow, he's so fortunate that he has, without doing anything, like all the people have collected the money and he has got the horse. So everyone says that he's very fortunate, very wonderful. And the farmer just smiles and says, "We will see." What happens is, this horse is new, and one day, within a week that he has got this new horse, the horse jumps the fence and runs away. Then everyone thinks that, oh, what a terrible thing has happened with this farmer now, that he got this wonderful new horse, and now the first horse died and the second horse has run away. And the farmer just smiles and says, "We will see." So then what happens is, after 2-3 days, somehow or the other, the horse finds the way back and he comes back home. And everyone thinks that this is really, really wonderful. How fortunate is this farmer? And the farmer just smiles and says, "We will see." Then one day, his farmer's young son, he's riding the horse. And unfortunately, he falls down from the horse and he breaks his leg. Looking at that, everyone thinks that, oh, this is really bad. This poor little fellow, he was just trying to ride the horse, but see what has happened to him. He has broken his leg. And the farmer just smiles and says that we will see. After 2-3 days, the army comes to the village for recruiting new soldiers for the army. And they see that this villager's boy has a broken leg, and they don't recruit him, then they just go ahead. Looking at that, they say that, oh, this child is so fortunate that because of his broken leg, the army did not recruit him. And this farmer just smiles and says, we will see. So this is very interesting that there are so many so-called fortunate or unfortunate situations or events which keep happening in our life, in our day-to-day life. But it is not that event that actually decides whether it is going to give us happiness or distress. It is our response to that event that is what determines. So if we overreact to these day-to-day events, then we will actually either be very joyful or very sorrowful. And that is why Krishna, Lord Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita, regularly, very repeatedly, he recommends that we should be equipoised in happiness or in distress. Many times these situations which are happening in our life, they look like as if they are set back in our life. But there may be some gift which is hidden. There may be some opportunity that may be hidden, but it is in disguise of a problem. But if we actually look for that opportunity properly, if our heart is not very bogged down, if our intelligence is not very bogged down just by the problem that has come, then we can rise above. And that is the valuable lesson that we can learn from this old farmer with a horse. So how do we actually do this? So this is all fine from the story's perspective. But I will actually give you another story, and by that we will learn how to rise above it. So this is a story of an eagle. It is actually not a story. It is an interesting fact about an eagle. When a storm is coming, eagle knows well in advance that the storm is going to come. So when the storm is coming, eagle doesn't run away from the storm. What he does is very interesting. He actually he flies to a very high spot and he waits for the storm. He doesn't run away. He waits for the storm. And when the wind of the strong storm is coming, or the strong wind of the storm is coming, he actually uses his wings. He spreads the wings in such a way that the wind is going to lift him up. So when the storm is coming, the eagle is lifting himself, and the storm is raging down, and he's soaring high using the same energy of the storm. So this is very interesting. We can learn from the eagle that when the storm in our life is coming, we don't have to run away. We have to use the energy of the storm, or the energy that we have, to rise above the storm, to rise above the difficulty that we are in. So when the storm of the life are coming upon us, we have to rise above. How do we rise above? And what energy we can use? So we can spread our wings. So instead of looking only on the material side, we should spread our wings to the spiritual dimension. And how do we do that? By chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. We should take shelter of the Supreme Lord. And by the energy that we get from the Supreme Lord, using that we can rise above. So if we are only focusing on the material problems that we have, then we will be bogged down, we will be distressed. But just like the eagle, by chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, by connecting to the Supreme Lord, by the process of Bhakti Yoga, what we will do is we will get the energy to rise above and we will soar high. So the main interesting or the takeaway point from today's session is that it is not the problem itself that decides whether we are going to be happy or distressed, but it is how we handle it or how we respond to it is going to decide whether we are going to be happy or distressed in a particular situation. So we discussed yesterday as well, very briefly, that the situation that we are in, where now from tonight in New Zealand for 4 weeks we'll be locked down, and some of us may be thinking that this is such a terrible thing to happen, but we can just use that as an opportunity to connect more deeply with the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna. We are saving some time in travel. Say every day, most of you were required to go to work, but most of you will be able to now work from home. So you are going to get some extra time. You are going to save some time which you are spending in traveling, going to office, coming back, and that time you can use, this extra time Krishna has given you, that you can use for connecting to your family members properly, connecting to your friends over phone, not in one-to-one, not personally, and the most importantly, you can connect to the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, and by which you will be able to fly above this distressing situation for most of the people in the world. So this is where I'll stop today. Do you have any questions?
You can unmute.
If you have any question, you can raise your hand or any comment.
Yesterday I was going through a story written by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This is based on Ramayana. Now this is an extension to what you have covered today. Instead of focusing on the low level emotion, he was talking about emphasizing on the high level emotion. I think it was in the plot of Ramayana when Rama was sent to
Right.
How
So you're referring to Chaitanya Charan Prabhu's book on Ramayana. Yes. Yeah. Very nicely covered there. How in the difficult times we should rise above.
Yes.
Very appropriate example.
Yeah.
Anyone else has any question or comment? Okay. If not, then thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki.
Jai.